What's up, I'm Bea and welcome to my channel. Today we will be watching a recent Paul and Morgan video together and going over some of the different aspects and things that they have said. It's been a while since I've covered Paul and Morgan. I feel like there's kind of two parts of that. They've been kind of laying under the radar. They've been flying underneath it, so there hasn't been anything too egregious that a lot of people are talking about that I feel like needs to be covered. It's kind of like the same old, same old. And also, with Morgan being pregnant, I know that they've been trying for so many years. She has wanted this so badly. It means so much to her. And so when they announced that she was pregnant, I kind of decided to take a step back from like looking for things to critique on them because I just wanted her to be able to enjoy it. I know that I disagree with them on a multitude of things, but when something is so important to someone, regardless of that kind of stuff, I don't ever want to add stress or make it so their joy is lessened in the thing that they are so excited about. So I just kind of pulled back. I was like, let's not look for things to critique. However, I recently saw that they posted a video called Responding to the Rumors and Criticism, and I thought that that would be a really interesting topic. I didn't know what rumors were going around. I didn't know what criticism in particular they were going to be talking about. So I clicked on it. I watched some of it. I had a moment of, oh no, because they said that they would be reacting to two videos that were made about them, but they're more recent videos. So one is from Jordan and McKay, and then one is from another channel that does compilations. We'll get into that, but for a hot second, I was like, am I going to see me? But I knew I wouldn't because if they had made a video reacting to anything I'd said about them, I know y'all would have let me know. And so it's just an interesting video. There are a lot of points to go over. This is a very complex topic. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get started.
And
I'm Morgan.
Hey, cheer up, baby girl. Cheer up, baby girl. Come here. You guys, today's video is going to be good. It is, actually, Morgan, you came up with this idea.
Yeah.
You said, why don't we address some of the recent, we weren't sure what to call it, so I just titled it, recent, what did I title it? Rumors and criticism. I think that's fair. I think that there's a few things that we want to hit on today. We are going to pull up actually two different videos that were made about us and just play. We're not gonna like get into the trenches.
Okay, so the intro was kind of weird, how he's like, oh, cheer up, baby girl, but it'll make sense as the video goes on.
Here, this video was made. This is a hate video. This video was, okay, maybe not a hate video, but they were really speculating stuff, and so we're going to prove ourselves. We're going to prove them wrong. We're not getting into the trenches, but we are going to play a few clips. We're going to play a few clips, and we're going to share our heart. We're going to share our side, and then ultimately you guys can decide if you want to believe us or them.
Yes, if you want to believe them and their truth or us and our truth.
Or you can choose your own truth.
Or that, because what is truth anyways? All right, well, if you're new here, make sure you...
I think that was kind of a sarcastic comment on her side because when I first heard that, I thought, that doesn't sound like Morgan. Like, you know, they're very much like, this is the truth of things, especially when it comes to their interpretation of the Bible and what they believe about religion. So it threw me off, but I think she's like joking.
Subscribe to this channel. We give commentary on culture, social issues, and faith to help you be in the world,
but of the word. Right on.
It's been so long since I've watched them, I didn't know they switched their catchphrase again.
Shout out to our patrons. We stinking love you guys. We could literally not do this without you all. You are incredible.
Thank you guys.
We are doing a June in-person hangout here in Lexington, Kentucky, where we live. Patrons only. If you, basically it was just kind of like a, hey, it's summertime. If any of you patrons want to come to Lexington, we'll be here and we'll hang out. And actually several people are coming, so it's going to be super fun. So it's not too late to sign up for that.
You're going to need to get on it pretty quick though.
Yes.
And we have another bigger hangout coming up at the early next year that's going to be like super legit. So you guys can sign up for that as well. But this one, is happening here in a few short weeks.
patreon.com/PaulMorganShow, or click the link below. $5 tier or above.
Awesome. All right, Morgan. Without further ado, I say let's just kind of break this down. I have a few notes of really we're going to be focusing on 3 different things that I felt like let's just talk about. Let's just talk about these today. The first one you guys probably saw in the thumbnail of today's video. Pull up. Actually, I got that thumbnail. Pull it up one more time. It's yeah.
I didn't even notice the faces.
I will say one part of this, because they did this as a live stream, one part that's really interesting is it seems like Paul does the majority of the talking and Morgan's kind of there as an assistant, like in an assistant's role. And I'm not quite sure when that started. I know they've been doing a lot of lives lately, and I watched a few other like snippets of their videos, and that seems to be kind of a common theme. I'm wondering if maybe it's just because Morgan is pregnant, and so she is more tired. She probably gets out of breath really easily as the pregnancy progresses. I think that might be part of it. But when you're watching a couple who's supposed to have equal input on things, it does come across kind of odd.
My face looks terrible, so does yours. You look evil.
What I'm wondering, because guys, I know we're joking, like we're laughing because it is funny to us, but I want to say right off the bat, I want this to be an opportunity to own up to stuff if we need to own up to stuff.
Okay, great.
Okay.
This is mainly about Paul, though.
So there's
he supposedly should own up to.
there's a thumbnail. Let's play.
I think when you address rumors and or criticism, it's important to go into it with the appropriate attitude. Right off the bat, Paul seems defensive. He seems kind of upset that Morgan's laughing. And so it just gives it kind of this defensive tone that makes you not necessarily trust what he's about to say. If he were to come in here and be like, look, I'm really upset. These things bother me. I want to talk about them. People would take him seriously. If he came on here and he was like, this is so ridiculous. This is just a joke. Like, we're taking it really lighthearted. And he went with that vein. You would be like, oh, he's addressing it, but you can tell he doesn't feel any sort of guilt or righteous anger about this. It's kind of awkward because it's in the middle. Morgan's laughing. He's trying to play along, but you can tell that he's not happy that these things are being said about him.
Yeah, I guess, so there was a video made pretty recently, and
I had to take out one of my AirPods because I felt like I was talking underwater. This is much better.
What it is a montage, and I think the title of the video, actually pull it up, it's the other picture right there, Morgan. The title of the video is, What Happened to...
I haven't seen these photos. What in the heck?
What happened to Morgan Olgus? And what it is... Okay, Morgan, keep it together. What it is a montage of when we started the YouTube channel, of like each of our intros, which those of you who've stuck around with us for a while, Paul and Morgan, the Paul and Morgan Show, that was what we started doing. And so it was this montage of 2017, 18, 19. We'll just play it for you. We'll give you guys an idea of what's going on here. And actually, there was a video made really recently, I want to say 2 or 3 days ago, from a channel who's made some videos pushing back on us, we'll say. And they brought this up as well. So this is now, it seems to be, this type of stuff seems to be kind of circulating.
It's been circulating for years that I'm very unhappy, and I used to love my life and now I don't, and Paul has made me quit music and all this stuff.
This is kind of an extension of that, though. This video in particular is showing the progression of Morgan going from happy to unhappy. So we're going to address this in particular, but play the first clip, Morgan. Clip number 1 there.
Clip 1, not Morgan intro.
No, clip number 1. And this is not that video. We're about to play that video of the progression of Morgan. This is a video that was made recently that talks about that.
All right.
They put together a compilation of like the intros of their videos dating back like to when they like first started on YouTube. And Morgan was like this bubbly, outgoing, like very take up the room personality, like very bright and like in your face.
Yeah.
So you can see this video, they're kind of commentating on this situation. And I wanted to keep these clips short. So actually, go ahead and play the second. So she said there, you used to be bubbly.
Yeah.
They're about to talk. Yeah. Anyways, play the next clip.
They put together the most recent videos that they've had where when you compare them to the beginning, Morgan just looks like she does not want to be there and looks depressed. And maybe she's like me and that's just her face. But seeing this compilation, it's definitely different.
The transformation. Well, yes. I guess now she's pregnant, so... And... maybe she's miserable.
So that's been...
So I appreciate his caveat there.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that.
So they're referring... Yeah,
I'm not miserable, by the way, but I am pregnant.
I was gonna say the word choice of miserable threw me off a little bit because I feel like maybe if it's anybody else who they were trying to get pregnant, happened super quick, or they weren't even trying and it happened and it's a pleasant surprise, you'd be like, oh man, she is just pregnant and miserable. It doesn't really carry a lot of weight. But with Morgan, for how long she's been trying to get pregnant, yeah, she might have like symptoms, negative side effects. She might not feel at 100%, but I don't know that I would have chosen the word miserable. So that kind of threw me off, but I appreciate that they're like not taking offense to it.
We're about to get to the last clip of them talking, but they're referring to this, like I said, compilation. Morgan, before we play a little bit of this compilation of showing you in the intros, do you have any thoughts right off the bat?
Wow, where to begin? It's funny, like I saw someone write in here, are these people serious? And it's like, yes, they are genuinely serious. Not just these people in this video, but like people who reach out to me on a regular basis, semi-regular, you know, asking if I'm okay, if I need help escaping, if I need help with like therapy. Financial stuff. And you know, I'm laughing and it is funny at this point, but it has been very, very strange to receive specifically messages and like see videos about like Paul and our marriage and how like I'm not happy in my marriage. Like it's just like weird because it's just so not true at all. Like I'm a very honest person, and so you guys know that, and we've opened up before, like when we're struggling in marriage or had an argument, like,
and that happens, you guys, like, you guys know that there are times, there are things that we're working through. Our first year of marriage was really tough.
So our marriage is by no means perfect, but like I'm very happy. I love my life. And, like, I don't feel any need to prove that to the people who are worried, because anyone who, like, sticks around for a while and doesn't just watch these, like, weird videos made about us and actually watches our lives and follows us on Instagram is gonna see that or just knows us in person. So, like, I'm not worried about it, but it is just kind of fun every now and then to talk about it.
Okay, so before she goes on and before they show this clip, I think there are a few things to consider. First and foremost, that's just kind of the danger of putting your relationship out there in such a public way. You create a YouTube channel with your spouse, people are going to speculate on the inner workings of your relationship. Whether it's right or wrong, who's to say? But when you're presented with something, it's only natural that you would form an opinion on it, whether or not you know what's exactly going on behind the scenes. And so I think that's just kind of par for the course, something that you should expect if you create a couple's YouTube channel. Now, as far as people messaging Morgan and saying like, are you okay? Do you need help escaping? I would hope that those people are coming from a good place. They're coming from a sincere place of concern. And I've even kind of, not to the extreme of messaging her, but I've kind of had that thought of like, man, is she really happy in this? Is this really what she wants? But kind of in that same vein, people concerned about Paul's behavior, whether or not it's too controlling, too domineering, etc. Jacqueline Glenn did make a video talking about Morgan's kind of apparent personality change from when she was in music, when she was signed to a record label and doing music videos, compared to her transition over time, basically. And literally said, like, Morgan, if you need help getting out, DM me, like, message me, let's talk. Jacqueline was very concerned about the way that Paul treated Morgan. However, since making that video, they have gone for dinner together, they've talked personally, they have had like a couple sleepover night. And so my assumption is that if Jacqueline saw anything in those actual personal face-to-face interactions that gave her cause for concern, she would take appropriate action. I could be totally wrong, I could be misreading her, but from what I've seen of Jacqueline, that's what I would expect from her, that if she saw something that really did give her cause for concern, she would handle it, and she would not be all buddy-buddy with them in public while having private concerns. That's just me. And so while it is natural to speculate, I would kind of assume that people who know them better and know them in their personal lives would have a better grasp on what's actually happening behind the scenes. So that's one part of it. And then the other part of it, with this compilation that's going to go on, it's going to show Morgan like looking miserable. And I think we just need to kind of remember that sometimes you don't know what your face looks like when somebody else is speaking. If it's just me talking to a camera, I don't really have much time to sit there and be like, or look sad, look miserable, whatever. If I'm doing a reaction video, I might have that face based on what that person's saying, but it's just kind of odd when you're on camera, you know you're being watched and you're not the one speaking. Sometimes you don't look the happiest. And also, a lot of these clips from when they are first starting, Morgan's super high energy, super bubbly, super excitable. And I feel like that's kind of part of your natural YouTube journey. Like, you try to be as pleasant and happy and eye-pleasing as you possibly can when you first get started, so that people will watch you and they'll like you. And you're probably also kind of nervous, and so you're playing it up. But then as you get more comfortable and as time goes on, you do get more comfortable, and you feel like you can be more authentic and more true to yourself, even if it isn't the most exciting, bubbly, happy person in the world. Do you hear Liberty? I don't think anybody's out front. Who knows? But that's just kind of my theory on the transition, because at the end of the day, Morgan has chosen who she wants to be with. Morgan has chosen this person that she wanted to marry and wants to stay in a relationship with. And yes, maybe there's some pressure to stay together because of their, religious beliefs and their norms. But we kind of have to respect other people's choices, even if they're not the choices that we would agree with. And so it doesn't really do any good to tear their marriage apart, because at the end of the day, they're responsible for them and their happiness and their life choices. And if there's not like an imminent physical danger to somebody, you kind of have to sit back. You kind of just have to let them do what they're going to do, even if you're not happy with it, or even if you don't agree with it.
It's absolutely absurd and outrageous.
Go ahead and play. So the first one is, it literally, this girl, I guess, on her channel she just took the time to, gather all of these intros of our videos to show that Morgan used to be happy and now she's not, and you can tell that by looking at how your energy and joy has been zapped out of the intros of our video. Play the first one. This was like 2000 in the middle of her video, and then I got one kind of towards the end. But I thought in this first 20-second clip, you can kind of start seeing what she calls your progression.
Okay.
Paul and Morgan, the Paul and Morgan Show. I'm Paul.
I'm Morgan.
And this is the Paul and Morgan, the
I'm Morgan.
And this is the Paul and Morgan, the Paul and Morgan Show. How you doing? I'm Paul.
I'm Morgan. I'm Morgan.
And this is the Paul and Morgan, the Paul and Morgan Show.
Can you imagine how tiring doing that theme song would be if you're doing at least one video per week? How quickly you would get sick of doing that, and how it would be really easy to just kind of fall into Paul and Morgan. Like, I think we need to be kind of careful when we look at compilations of things. It's important to get context. You can't just look at 3-second clips and make a judgment about whether or not somebody is mentally deteriorating because of their romantic partner. We got to be a little bit careful with that.
Anything in there that I don't see now.
Well, so this next clip, and this is the last one of this montage, is really, like, supposedly you can really see, wow, Morgan's joy is just draining. So play the next one, and then I want to hear your commentating on it.
Definitely want to watch this one. I'm Morgan.
And today it's gonna be a little different than usual. You guys know that we like to invite you all into our normal day-to-day lives. A lot of the time it's fun and exciting.
I'm Morgan.
In today's video, Stephen Furtick's son.
I'm Morgan.
And today's video was...
I will admit, those clips, they do like pull on your heartstrings and make you think like, wow, something's really going on. But again, we have to be really careful making judgments about tiny little sections of people's lives and their videos.
That one they took of me in the green shirt was literally like, I was crying in that whole video. Oh, I cannot even.
See, so I tried to go back and find that video. I wasn't gonna like click through all of their videos, but I was looking for a thumbnail of her in a green shirt. I went back over a year and a half. I couldn't find it, and I was like, I'll take her word for it. If she says that she was crying throughout the entire video, of course that's what she would look like in that clip. That's what she would look like in the intro. If she's already upset before they even start filming because it was a serious topic that they were talking about, why would she not look like that? And like, I think I'm going to go kind of back and forth in defending Paul and Morgan and giving them some criticism, because that's just how I'm feeling. Like, I'm feeling torn. I think there are some things that they should address, and there's some things that they should just be aware of how they present themselves in. But again, you know, it's kind of misleading to take these little clips, put them all together, and use that to say that Paul is toxic, Paul's abusive, Paul's a bully, Paul's mean. I have an issue with the way that Paul acts sometimes and the things that he says to Morgan. I really do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's spending every day of his life trying to tear Morgan down and steal her joy. And I think there's a difference in saying like, I didn't like how you behaved in this instance or in this video. There's a difference between that and you're a bully and you're abusive and you're mean and you're a bad person. Like, different levels of severity.
To the naked eye, someone that's watching that maybe has kind of heard rumors of Paul's not a good husband. Morgan is just...
Yeah, I mean, if you literally just watch that compilation video, you're going to be like, whoa, like something is wrong with her.
I would sure hope, this is kind of me defending myself, so to speak, but I would sure hope that people have enough common sense to know not to take a conglomeration of supposedly, look how joyful she was by the intros of her videos. We don't know all right, I don't even think I need to defend myself. Morgan, you go. What are your thoughts?
That's the problem, is apparently not, like, I don't know if it's just people don't have the common sense, or they just, like, feel like they can just watch a 2-minute clip of a compilation of me saying I'm Morgan and just, like, trust that these people putting this clip together are super trustworthy and sharing all the context of...
I don't know that it's lacking common sense. I just think it's confirmation bias. Like, anybody who likes you guys is probably not going to be watching those compilations, and people who already dislike you or who have heard things about you that they find to be negative will watch that and be like, oh, see, I was right not to like them. I don't know if it's a lack of common sense.
Clip, but, like, that's not the case, and people just, I don't know, I get messages just being like, are you okay? And I was like, yes.
Well, so Morgan, I mean, do you feel like, let's just sober up for a minute. Do you feel like your joy from when we started the YouTube channel, the early days of YouTube, you singing the Paul and Morgan theme song up until now, has there been a significant change?
It's interesting because I feel like I enjoy YouTube now way more than when I used to. Like, when we first started out, like, I struggled a lot of the time.
To me, this is weird. It's kind of like over-explaining without giving an actual answer. I would have been like, in a way, I did change, yes, but here's how. And Morgan kind of does this thing where Paul is going to ask her another question later, I think. I didn't like pay super close attention to the whole video because I didn't want to like start over analyzing it right there. I wanted to have authentic thoughts as it was playing. So I think he asks her another question later where instead of answering yes or no, she goes into the elaborate explanation.
The first 2, 3 years, I don't even know.
You did.
In like making content and in just YouTube stuff in general, I felt like I was stressed a lot with just how hard it was to have a YouTube channel.
In your mind, and this was something that we dealt with a lot early on, she thought that growth should be quicker. She wasn't satisfied with where we were financially and the struggles of and just the inconsistencies of YouTube and feeling like this should be paying off more. So she really, even year like 2 of YouTube and even year 3 of YouTube, she really struggled. And it was kind of this, sometimes I'd be like, Morgan, let's film.
Well, yeah, Paul, as the leader of the household, you should be providing. This is totally joking, but in their vision of marriage, he's the leader of the household. He should be financially providing. So I could get why she would be a little bit frustrated. I understand it.
She'd be like, I don't want to. And we even left it in one of our videos, like a fight that we got in on camera. It wasn't always pretty. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that marked our whole YouTube journey from years 1 to 3, but I would agree with you. It's better now.
Way better.
So what do you think is going on there in that montage?
Well, first of all, what has changed in all of those montages, I believe they were all videos that were live. So, like, there was no, because, like, we maybe could do an intro and then I could say, I don't feel like I had enough energy. Let's redo that. And then, like, edit it. But now it's just, like, my intro is my intro. And you're just going to see the real me. And there are times when I sit down to go live that I'm tired. Especially, like, in my pregnancy. I feel like that's been more consistent. And a lot of those I was pregnant in that they showed. That were, like, the more obvious ones. And I just, am just tired, or I need a minute to like really get into the groove, and you're just like witnessing that, or I'm literally crying because I'm having a meltdown.
Well, is it also fair to say in our early years of YouTube, we were kind of figuring out how to be ourselves on camera, and so it was kind of like a default of let's put out extra energy.
Yes, definitely.
And now we've been on YouTube for 5.5 years, and it's like we've kind of settled into ourselves. So yeah, the energy level, which I hope, like, I still get crazy. Morgan still gets crazy. But overall, the energy level is not quite what it was in those early years.
Right.
I was crazy, dude.
He was.
In the intros.
He still is, but he was.
I was crazy. So you could easily, like, make this montage.
I've seen a lot of those videos, and I've felt that intensity, that energy, where I'm just like, whoa, this is a lot. And I feel like that also kind of contributes to some of the negative attention that they used to get and maybe still do kind of get, where it's just like, can we bring this down a level because this is a lot.
I know, seriously, like Paul, I'm sure if you looked at older videos of him just being crazy, and now, like, Paul's lost his joy.
But so that narrative hasn't really taken off like the Morgan's losing her joy has.
No.
Morgan, play the last clip of the other 2 that were commentating. And granted, you know, one of the guy in there did say, like, Morgan's pregnant, so he was giving a little way out. But then right after that, the female goes on to say, and on top of Morgan seemingly losing her joy, they have started kissing at the beginning of their videos. Here's what it appears to be going on there. Play that.
Okay. Before they get into that, I want to address something. I think that something we, as viewers, need to also consider regarding Morgan is the fact that she has been diagnosed with severe depression and borderline personality disorder, and she's going through her own journey of finding the best treatment for that. And so if there's a certain day where she's off. I mean, we all have off days, but I feel like they might be a little bit more frequent for her, or days where she's struggling or not at 100% because of that, and because of trying to, you know, live a happy and fulfilling life despite the things that in her head are, that she has said are like trying to drag her down, that have caused her to have days where she can't even get out of bed, but she knows that she needs to. And so I think we need to give a little bit of extra grace for Morgan in that, and, you know, by association, give grace to Paul. If Morgan's having a bad day, it's not necessarily because Paul did anything wrong. And so Morgan's talked about this multiple times. It's not an easy thing to deal with. She was diagnosed at 18. She's been on medication. She's, you know, took it, gone through phases of like, well, part of it is, you know, being treated with medication, but then part of it is a sin that's within me, so I need to just rip that out and tell the devil he has no power. And, you know, I kind of have a different perspective. I totally respect how she wants to approach her mental health treatment. She did a video in April of 2020, about a month after lockdown started in the US, where she talked about how she was struggling, and she was talking to her psychiatrist about it and following her psychiatrist's lead. And so we know that she's continuing to follow medical advice, right? She has taken that approach and she is handling her mental health. But so for me, I don't necessarily think it's a sin thing or a devil thing. I think it's a medical thing that should be handled by doctors. And if you don't want to be on medication, that's your choice. You have that right. You are free to treat your depression and BPD as you see fit. But all that's to say, Morgan's been really open about this. She's talked about it multiple times in videos. She's had multiple discussions on it. And so I do think we need to also remember that if we see her and we think like, oh, she's looking really sad. You know, it might not have anything to do with Paul, with her marriage, with her overall life satisfaction. It could just be a tough day.
So that's been talked about in the sub. In addition to the fact that they aren't physically affectionate, both of those things have been brought up in the sub. I fucking know they're in there. You guys are reading.
I think it's weird to be super overly physical affectionate on a video. Like, I don't know. To me, that would just feel forced. If you're sitting next to each other and you like touch or you do a hug, okay, sure. But why would they need to be super physically affectionate in their videos? I feel like I'm defending them more than I'm criticizing them in this video, which is very weird for me. It's very odd, but we gotta do what we gotta do.
I know it. So they're like many of the other fundies who read the sub, who like make changes based on what the snarkers.
So she's referring to the Reddit page thread that like is made about a lot of Paul and I and other Christian YouTubers. So that's what she was referring to.
So she's saying that that there's this kind of thing going around that we're not affectionate, and that she's claiming that we probably got on the Reddit, saw that they were exposing that about us, that we're not affectionate, and so we said, you know what, we gotta change something up. Let's start kissing at the intros of our video.
Let's prove them
wrong.
You know what's so funny, and this is what I think honestly frustrates me the most, is that girl in that video and so many other people who make videos on us and like other things, or make posts or send us messages, whatever, are so confident that they know. They stinking know, as she said, but she used a different word, that we are doing this or that, or this is how our marriage is, or this is how Paul treats me in this area. Like, they just absolutely know, hands down. So much confidence, so much pride, and that is what frustrates me the absolute most, because one, I can't even tell you the last time that I got on the fundy Reddit thread thing, because first of all, it's incredibly toxic.
Morgan, let me help you out. It's called a subreddit.
Disgusting.
It is. It
I have only gotten
it's bad
on that like thread thing, I think maybe in all of our YouTube career, like 5 times. And like,
Yeah, I would stay off that. It's just going to hurt your feelings. If you have a subreddit created about you that you did not have a hand in creating, avoid. It will not make you feel good.
Every single time.
It's just really dark. And
oh yeah.
No part of me wants to be on that website reading what people are saying about me. I do not care. And I don't need that in my life. So it's just so funny that she was like so confident of, oh, they got on, they read that, and they were like, okay, we need to do something about this.
We can assure you guys we did not get on Reddit, read that they were saying we weren't affectionate, and then start kissing at the beginning of our videos.
Yeah.
The complete transparency of the kiss.
Yeah.
We met with kind of this guy that's really like smart in YouTube, and we were just talking about like different, and I don't even need to go into this, but since it's all transparency, we're talking about like different things that people can come to expect consistently in videos, and we were like, let's come up with another one. Mm-hmm. And Morgan was like, why don't you kiss me at the beginning? And I was kind of like, it's a little, but then as it's going, we're still honestly in the test phase of it.
Yeah, I still forget literally I've forgotten that he's going to kiss me every single time, and I'm like, cut off.
So if you guys want to criticize us for, oh my goodness, Paul and Morgan are kissing because they want to give the viewer something that's predictable that they can like connect with or whatever, criticize that. But
well, one other thing too, the reason that like we chose the kiss was because something else this guy said was, who the heck are you all?
True,
if someone new comes to your channel, are they going to know that you guys are married? Are they going to think y'all are brother and sister? Are they going to think you're college roommates? Like, whatever. And so I was like, okay, surely if Paul kisses me on the cheek, that'll make it clear.
So there you go. That's just the transparency behind that. Before we get more...
Yeah, those are fair points. That's a fair explanation. I don't know. I think the kiss is weird. It kind of makes it awkward. In the videos that I've watched of them doing it, I know they were doing a bit at the beginning of this one, but the other videos that I watched, I'm just like, this is kind of weird. I don't know. I feel like there might be a better, more kind of seamless way to communicate that you are a married couple, not brother and sister, not roommates. There could be something else that we could do.
The criticism, which actually came from someone who I think maybe it's a little more of people who followed our channel, not so much the outsiders, so to speak. Mm-hmm. All right, let's just get it out in the open right now. And my question is Morgan unhappy, and does my toxicness make you unhappy? Is it zapping your joy?
Before she answers, I do think that Paul has a very domineering personality. He has a personality that, to be frank, rubs me the wrong way. I don't know that if I met him, we would get along. I really feel like we probably wouldn't. However, if Morgan expects out of a husband somebody to be in charge and lead the household, even if we disagree with it, we have to let her make her choices. I think maybe he's a little bit over the top, but I wonder if one day Morgan decided that was no longer what she wanted and she started pushing back a little bit more, I do wonder how he would react. I feel like, again, this is like total speculation based on what I've seen them put out on their channel, because when they did that interview with Jesse Lee Peterson, you could see Paul standing up for Morgan. You could tell he cared about her. You could tell he was defending her. And so I don't think it's like a transactional marriage or one where it's just like, oh, well, we're young and we're in this Christian church and so we're expected to get married. I do think there's a lot of love there. There are times, though, where he'll kind of like snap at her or be a little bit bossy. And I'm like, that was uncalled for. I didn't appreciate that. I did not like that. But, you know, they've clearly chosen to be together and they've chosen to stay together. For a reason. There must be a good reason.
Because there's a lot of Paul is toxic going around because of just all these themes that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's really weird to me. I mean,
see, this is where she's not answering yes or no.
Really, like, ignore what people say or just not care so much, because something within me growing up my entire life was like, the people that I love, if you talk bad about them, if you are rude to them, if you're awful to them, whatever, like, I will become a lion and defend them. A lioness, yes. And
just look at his face. I think that's partially why people have such negative things to say about him. He like a lioness. And maybe that's just his face, but that's part of it. That's why people are like, okay, Paul.
It was really, really hard when a few years ago, like all the stuff came about. Paul was controlling, abusive, manipulative, blah, blah. Because it's just so far from the truth.
That was presented by a big YouTuber, made a video about it.
Yeah, but then it was carried on throughout other people's channels.
Sure, that kind of kicked it off and set forth this narrative.
Yes, and this narrative...
Is that Jacqueline Glenn, or is that another YouTuber?
It has continued. Luckily, it's chilled out, I'd say a good amount, but every now and again we get some videos or a message or whatever that Paul is just like a toxic whatever guy controlling me in our marriage, and it's just so far from the truth. And I'm just so thankful for our marriage, and we are very lovey-dovey. So
I'd say our lovey-doveyness, just comparative to like all kind of the friend groups in our lives and stuff, we're probably a little above average.
We get made fun of by our friends, who a lot of them are Ukrainian, and they're like, ugh, stop, don't do that, whenever like Paul will come over and kiss me, or we'll hug for a while and just stand there hugging or holding each other.
Even if we weren't overly affectionate in public,
that ain't none of your business.
Big whoop-de-woo. All right, so Morgan, here's the...
I'm happy in my marriage.
I love how she had to kind of throw that in there. But like, a lot of them are Ukrainian. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Are they not an affectionate, in general, is their culture not super affectionate? Or is it to be like, yeah, we have Ukrainian friends, so look up to us. We're better than you if you don't. I don't know.
Happy on YouTube. Are you?
Yes, I am.
Are you?
Yes, I...
So they got the whole thing wrong.
Yes, I am. I am very happy. All right, Morgan, so here's this one I want to bring up.
I don't like that joke.
This one is a little bit more something that we
I don't love that joke being made publicly. I think if it was made in private with people that they knew and who knew them very well, that would be kind of a different story. But doing it in public just seems to kind of make light of the fact that women can do that. And I feel like the way that they approached this video could have been a lot more organized, because if it were me, if I were addressing anything like this, I probably would have said, there are certain accusations that have been made. Here's what the accusations are. And before we go any further, I want to assure you that that's not what is happening. We'll go down the line, we'll go example by example, and we'll refute them as they come along in this video. However, I just need to say right off the bat, like right on top of the opening of this video, that you do not need to be concerned, because I am happy. I feel loved, I feel safe, I feel secure, and Paul and I have a really great partnership. So with that being said, let's go. Like, I wish that they would have just flat out said something at the beginning and then given their examples, as opposed to kind of doing it in a more convoluted way, which is how I felt that they did it.
I do want to, hopefully you guys see, like, I want to be just sober, so to speak, like sober about this stuff. But this one I really want to like hit on. This is more of a criticism.
Okay.
I saw someone, I want to say it was yesterday or the day before, I was responding to comments. I believe it was a comment on one of our videos, but I can't remember for sure. But then someone actually kind of seconded this. I saw it today, so let's just flesh this out.
Say it. What is it?
The comment was, you guys at the beginning of your videos will oftentimes say, this is my perspective, but then you proceed to make it the perspective. Like, if you all don't have this perspective, you're wrong. So ultimately you're not being upfront when you say this is just our perspective. You're
not being truthful. Like, you don't really mean it when you say this is just...
Correct. And
I feel like that's a fair criticism, and that's something that maybe a lot of people who make videos, including myself, should be aware of. When you say, like, this is how I see it, it's very easy to say that next thing as if it is a fact, because in your mind, like, you believe that to be the truth, so you do believe it to be a fact, even if you're prefacing with like, this is just my opinion. So I think that's good feedback. That's something to just kind of be aware of. And maybe you don't need to change how you speak, but you could just say, I know that what I'm about to say is going to come off as me presenting this as a fact, but that's just because I believe it to be true. And you can kind of tailor things to make people feel like you're not being as judgmental or maybe excluding them from certain things. So I think that's a good piece of constructive criticism.
Someone in, because I like to oftentimes glance at the pre-live feed, what you guys are saying before we hop on and go live. Mm-hmm. And someone said, there's plenty of things they say us that deserve criticism of the constructive kind, or really just them sitting down with individuals and learning differences aren't sins you need to attack. So kind of suggesting that when we see something that's different than us, mm-hmm. we think it's a sin that needs to be attacked.
Gotcha.
Thoughts? And I'll give mine.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And when I hear that, like, I do want to look at how we have portrayed ourselves and portrayed our opinions and whatnot. I do also know that, you know, a video is a video. Like, we're not sitting down and having a one-on-one conversation with someone. We're having a conversation through a video camera with hundreds of people who aren't talking back and asking us questions for us to maybe like whatever, or for us to be able to ask you all questions. So it's gonna come across as this is our perspective and that's that. Like, you don't get to hear us be pushed back on or just answer questions that you might have, if that makes any sense. But it really truly is Paul and I's heart to share our perspective, but we know that, like, there are plenty, we have friends, family members who don't see things the way we see it, and we see that they're very much so walking with the Lord and, like, gonna be in heaven with us one day, and we have no problem with that. And so I hope that people watching can feel confident enough in where they stand of, like, I don't see eye to eye with Paul Morgan, but, like, we're gonna see each other in heaven. And they don't think that I'm going to hell because I believe something differently from them, because we don't.
Yes.
I will say maybe that's the vibe that they put off now, or like in more recent videos they've been putting that vibe out, but you go back a year and a half, 2 years, that was not the vibe. The vibe was, this is what the Bible says, this is what's correct. If you're different from this, you're wrong. So I think people who watch their channel now might be able to get that takeaway of just like, oh, you know, you believe this, I believe this. This is one of those things where we can kind of just agree to disagree and it doesn't affect our salvation. But in the past, that is not the energy that y'all were giving out. But I do like to see the growth. I like to see the change in demeanor and personality. I like that they're stepping away from the charismatic church. I think we're seeing some progression. Not that it's perfect, not that they're totally different people, and nobody's ever going to be perfect, obviously. But small improvements are happening, so that's a good thing. That's something we want to encourage and say, good. Now, like, keep moving, keep going in that direction.
We can get a little bit overzealous sometimes in topics that do hold some gray area. I'm sure there are plenty of people that come on our channel and see us making a video on a topic that we would consider a black and white topic in regards to biblical Christianity, and this topic goes against biblical Christianity. And so we're going to give a strong perspective. We're going to say, this is what we believe. This is what we believe the Bible says that Christians should believe. Like, this isn't just our opinion. We're going to have that, and there's going to be people that watch that video and say, Paul and Morgan are so judgmental and bigoted, and it's like, no, this is pretty stinking black and white according to Scripture.
Yeah, this isn't even our opinion. This is God's opinion. We're just sharing it from Scripture.
We're not apologizing.
Agree to disagree to some level, and we've talked about this on my channel before. You can quote a verse, you can cite a verse and say, well, this is what this verse says, so this is what is true. However, you need to consider the context in which that thing was said. You need to consider who wrote it. You need to consider what the context was of them writing it, if this was something that was their personal opinion, or if this was something that they believed that God instructed them to write. There's a lot of complexities in the Bible, and I don't know that they always do the best at explaining those or at looking at them and truly understanding them. There's a reason that people debate the Bible as often as they do, and there's a reason that there are so many people who are Christians who have differing opinions and differing approaches, because it's not necessarily just black and white. You know, as an example, there's a version of the Bible, like a translation of the Bible called the Message version, and I heard a verse that was from the Message version that I just thought was super clever and really interesting, and then I looked at it in the NIV, New International Version, and it was just completely different, like so totally opposite from each other. Like they could not have, if you told me that those were different versions of the same verse, I would have been very confused if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. And I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding the Message translation because it is more of a narrative type of story. There were a lot more liberties taken in that, but that just goes to show you, you know, if somebody's a Christian and they've only read the Message version of the Bible, they're going to have very different opinions and understandings than people who've only read the King James Version or people who've only read the New Living Translation or the New International Version. There are over 400 translations of the Bible in English alone. And so you can say, like, according to my version of the Bible, according to what I have read, this is black and white. But you don't exactly know that. You can't say that with 100% confidence and truth, because somebody else could read a different version and have a totally different understanding of the exact same verse that you were talking about.
For holding those truths that the Bible makes very clear. But sometimes when we do give our perspective on stuff that does have more of a gray area, I think we can get a little overzealous. You guys, try making a YouTube channel where you give your thoughts and perspectives on stuff. It's tough to find that perfect balance.
And to do it live. That's another thing. Yeah. We added a whole nother level when we decided to start going live.
We did. So it is challenging. I'm not excusing us. There's stuff that we still need to grow in. But like our last video.
That is a tough one. When you have an entire channel based on your opinion of things, people are not always going to agree with you, and they're not always going to be happy. So, you know, you just kind of have to accept that. You have to accept that maybe in what you include in your video, that doesn't contain the entire scope of how you feel about a certain topic. Maybe somebody's going to take something out of context. People don't know what you're thinking. They only hear what you say. They don't know why you chose to say the thing that you said in the way that you said it, because they're not in your brain. So it's tough. It's not always easy.
And we had a little bit of the episode of if
don't
you guys
even bring that up.
If you stayed for the end, the live portion where we're fielding your all's questions, someone got kind of upset at Morgan for being just a little overly sassy and pushing back on a different perspective. So that stuff happens. And like, Lord, please humble us, help us to walk with open hands, to stand firm on Scripture, on the truth of your word, but also just be full of grace, and really be able to look at perspectives that are different than ours on these grayer areas.
Yeah, and I will say that when Paul and I started our YouTube channel, we were probably even more so kind of what that person is saying, of like, and maybe we didn't necessarily believe this, but we came across of this of like, if you don't believe how we believe, then like you've got it wrong. And I think we would come
across you believed it
that way in videos more so. But I really like, this is something Paul and I pray on regularly, of just like, Lord, like, we're gonna share our opinion, but you do your work, and you plant seeds and you water seeds, but like, this is just our opinion, this is what we've been convicted of, this is what we feel the Lord has revealed to us, and that's that. But like, we know that each person has their own individual walk with the Lord, and it doesn't always look the same, and it would be super boring if it looked the same, and we can all learn from each other.
And also, Morgan and I are kind of critics to a certain extent. Like, we sometimes look at our friends and take like a movie, for instance, or take like a political topic, and they're just like so chill about it, and like, yeah, that's fine. And it just doesn't really get to them much, or they just don't have a strong opinion. And then Morgan and I will maybe watch a movie. Like, I just watched the new...
we just watched...
Well, yes.
Top Gun.
Yeah, you're right.
Did you see that? Paul is self-centered. He's excluding Morgan. I'm kidding, but I feel like that's the kind of thing that somebody would see and use it as evidence that Paul is like self-centered and only cares about himself and doesn't include Morgan, when it's just, I saw this movie. And she's like, we saw the movie together.
We just watched it, and so we made like little stories. We didn't think it was as good as what everyone else is saying, and we kind of critiqued it.
All of our friends in the group that went to see it were like, I give it an 8.5, I give it a 10, I'm an 11, and we were like 5, 7.
We're just a little bit more on the critiquing mentality. That's just our personality, so it's gonna come across a little bit whatever. And so you got, if you know, that's just how it is. That's life.
It's just kind of who we are,
but still,
we're continuously wanting to be refined by the Lord and sanctified. Yes. And I don't want to be a critic of everyone's lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. Like, but I do want the Lord's discernment, and I'm not going to fall for things that maybe some people will fall for just because their personalities are more like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, you know, they've got strengths and I've got strengths. They've got weaknesses and we've got weaknesses. So there's that.
Amen. Like, help us, Lord. Lead us to become more Christ-like. And thank you guys for your grace. You guys are seriously, like, so many of you all bless us every time we go live. Our patrons are an incredible blessing, and each time we get to do our live Zoom calls, the encouragement that we receive from them is huge. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up.
Obviously, there was a lot in there. There were times when I defended Paul and Morgan, times when I gave them criticism. I feel like I said pretty much everything that I had to say about the video while it was playing, but I definitely want to hear what you think about the video, what you think about the way that they approached it, if you feel like they address things in the best way, or if you have more clarity on how they perceive things. Leave that down below, and while you're doing that, if you would consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel, that would be incredible. And if you're subscribed already, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you, and I love being able to just sit here, hang out with you, and talk about whatever. Thank you so much for watching. Please be kind to people, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.